Howdy and welcome to Chapter 1. Chapter 1 provides us with an introduction to instructional design. I found this a very interesting quote because when designing and implementing training, it doesn't matter how great the training looks or how much time, effort, and money were invested or even the topics covered. Training needs to end up with results. These results need to be the intended or wanted results. I think of this as the transfer of training, if you remember that concept from foundations. But the transfer of training needs to be what the objectives of the training were defined as. And one way to get results like this is to use a systematic instructional design approach. And when we talk about systematic instructional design, what we're talking about is a set of procedures for planning and developing the teaching materials to make sure they achieve the desired results. No single systems approach to designing instruction exists. There are probably 100 different approaches, but all the approaches are based on the ADDIE model. And you learned about the ADDIE model previously in Foundations as well as some other courses that you've taken. So this is the Dick and Carey model, which is based on the ADDIE model, and most systems are. So if we look at the Dick and Carey model, if we look at ADDIE, the first part of ADDIE is to analyze. Okay, so that would probably be, this part here. This would be the analyze part. Okay, and then the next part of ADDIE is design. So in design, we're writing performance objectives. Okay, so this would be the design phase. Okay, then the next part is develop. Okay, here's the develop phase. Develop assessment instruments, instructional strategy, and materials. Okay, that would all be the development phase. And then we implement it here, is where it's implemented. Okay, so we implement. And then lastly, we evaluate. Okay, and the Dick and Carey model allows for a formative evaluation and a summative evaluation. So you can see where this is based upon the ADDIE model. The Dick and Carey model was influenced by the work of Robert Gagne. Gagne's conditions of learning is a main theory behind the Dick and Carey model. And this is based upon a cognitive information processing view of learning. And what this says is that learning occurs when students incorporate new information and schemes into their memories that enable new capabilities. Dick and Carey also, to a lesser degree, incorporate some constructivist views of learning. I don't know if you've studied this in any of your classes, but constructivism is a view of learning that considers learning to be a unique product constructed by each individual learner, and where learners take new information and experiences, combine it with existing knowledge to make new sort of mental representations of what's going on in their environment. So it's more of a hands-on sort of approach to learning. The model is predominantly a cognitive view. Okay, and you'll see that as we go through, although, once in a while you'll see some constructivist type activities as well. The Dick and Carey model starts with assessing needs to identify goals. This is where we look at an organization to determine if there's a problem, and if there is a problem, can it be solved by training? If it can be solved by training, then we can apply the Dick and Carey model to that. After we assess the need, we conduct an instructional analysis. In the instructional analysis, we determine the step-by-step procedure that people perform when they're doing whatever it is we're going to teach them to meet our goal. In conjunction with that, we also analyze the learners in context. We have to understand our learner. We have to know their learning style. We have to know their demographics. We need to know prior knowledge that they have or lack of knowledge and skills. We also analyze the context in which we'll be conducting the training, as well as the context in which they'll be performing the goal once we teach them. The next step is to write performance objectives. Okay, and this is probably the most important, this and coming up with a goal, because the performance objectives are specific statements about what the learner will be able to do when they complete the instruction. That's very important. It's how we measure and analyze everything. So from the performance objectives, we go into development. So here we'll develop the assessment instruments. Well, how are we going to assess whether learners have met the goal? We're going to develop an instructional strategy. Okay, and the instructional strategy is based on all this information we've collected so far, all this information up until there. Okay, we'll go into the instructional strategy. And the instructional strategy is based on the information where we're going to determine what pre-instructional activities we need, how are we going to present the new content, how are we going to get learner participation and engagement, what kind of feedback will we use. Okay, so all those things kind of come into play, and it's all based on the results of learning research. Okay, then after that, we develop and select materials. Okay, so this is where we're actually going to be designing what we're doing. You know, we're going to be presenting the training, doing videos and all that sort of thing. So you see, this is pretty far down the process, and it's really easy for designers and instructors and others to just jump ahead to this step and just start preparing materials without going through any of the analysis phase, which is a big mistake, especially when we talk about results. Okay, so it's important to analyze this before we jump into the training phase at this point. Okay, and then after that, we will then design and conduct summative and formative evaluation to make sure we're actually meeting our goals. And since this is a system, at all points in the process, we can go back and revise instruction. And you're going to find this probably to be the case. You could be over here developing materials, and you could find something that maybe you need to change in assessment. So you go back and revise assessment. Maybe your objective wasn't clear enough. You may revise your objective. So that's why it's a system, because we're always going back and we're making these revisions in order to make this the best goal-oriented, results-oriented training possible. That's it for Chapter 1. I hope you're looking forward to developing your learning project. Thank you.